I have to admit that my Seahawks loving heart is a little broken this morning after several big shakeups within the organization. We're kicking off this week with a much-needed trip to the Hawk Zone. And obviously, I could not do this without our man, Terry Hollimon.
I am here.
And it turns out you can't do this without what?
I can't do this without a bit of liquid therapy. We're all going through it here in Seattle, so I figured I'd set the mood up. It's 5 p.m. somewhere, right?
I mean, it is. Feel free.
Probably 5 p.m. in Pittsburgh right now.
Oh, yeah. Don't get me started. Yeah. Okay, in the span of 2 days, the Seahawks released Tyler Lockett. DK immediately requests a trade, and then the Seahawks trade quarterback Geno Smith to the Raiders. What in the world is happening?
I hate to sound like Chicken Little, but the sky is falling. I know we have a lot of hyperbole about the Seahawks every year. This is bad, or this is terrible, this is happening. This is not great for the Seahawks. On one hand, I think as a fan, you look at where we are right now, where we finished the season last year. You were expecting big things to happen for them to build on what they had.
Yeah.
But right now, it seems like we're in a complete and total rebuild.
That's what I was. I'm like, this looks like we're just blowing everything up, and next year is going to be a rebuild year, which as a fan makes you sad because I felt like we were so close to getting, to the playoffs.
You look at our team last year. They had a number of good wins. They finished well. Geno finished strong. It looked like we had our new coach and was doing his thing. Yeah. Then all of a sudden, things start happening. We lose our offensive coordinator. We start losing players, and then we lose our quarterback, which is the face of the franchise.
I know.
It leaves you with a bunch of questions, and I'm assuming that's why I'm here today.
You are, because I have a bunch of questions. So do you think this was a chain reaction, or do you think all of those things were happening separately for weeks?
Well, I think sometimes in the NFL, things happen in itself, like in a bubble. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, things start to turn after that. Like the team starts to see, okay, we're making a change and a shift in this direction. Wow. Things are starting to motivate and happen. And that's what happened in this case. It felt like. Mm-hmm. Felt like we had the thing happen with Tyler Lockett, then all of a sudden things just kind of started to avalanche after that. And I think maybe one had to do with another one. And we'll talk more about that as we go along.
We will. Okay, so let's flash back to Wednesday of last week. The Seahawks announced they're cutting Tyler Lockett. This wasn't entirely unexpected, except, again, my heart is breaking. This guy is a class act. I absolutely love him.
I think everybody in Seattle has to love Tyler Lockett. He was a consummate professional, a great receiver on the field and a great guy off the field, a humanitarian, somebody that you love to see and root for. Not only that, he holds a number of Seattle Seahawks records as far as receiving and kick returning and punt returning. But unfortunately, for the Seahawks, and the nature of football is when you see guys start to reach the year 9, 10 level in their careers, people start to think that this guy's getting a little older, his productivity is going down, he's not going to get better, he's reached his prime. So it's time to try to get the most bang for your buck. If you can trade him. If not, let him go, and you release that money that's on your roster right now. That being said, it's tough to watch a guy like Tyler Lockett leave. And we've seen it before.
He did everything right. That's what I just don't understand.
And that's what the problem is with professional sports. You have guys like this that do everything right.
Yeah.
They're great guys for the franchise, and then you have to let them go just because of financial reasons, productivity reasons. And we've seen it before with the Seahawks. And I'm sure we're going to see it again with Tyler. Like, look back to Bobby Wagner.
Right.
He's somebody that we let go, and we thought he was, old.
Right.
And no more productivity. And he goes other places and succeeds. Last year, he had an incredible Pro Bowl type season with the Commanders. I think we're going to see that again with Tyler Lockett.
Well, I know Lockett will succeed wherever he goes. And then right after that, DK requests a trade immediately. That trade actually happened yesterday. He's going to the Pittsburgh Steelers, for a second-round draft pick. Mm-hmm. The Seahawks didn't have to appease DK. Why do you think they did? And did they get enough in return?
Well, I think everybody in Seattle knows DK. And I know that when you have a disgruntled DK, it's not a good thing for the franchise. And I think he obviously, he had his mind set on being elsewhere. And I think the program didn't want to argue with him with that point. I think if you wouldn't have had possibly the emergence of JSN that we had last season, Jackson Smith and Jigba, who had an incredible breakout season last year.
He really did.
It might have been tougher to let DK leave. But at this point, I think they said, let's try to get the most return we can on DK while we can. He's disgruntled. He does not want to be here. Let's build around somebody that does.
It's funny that he said he wanted to go somewhere super warm,
Yeah.
and then he ends up in Pittsburgh, but he's with Russell, so.
Well, maybe they can keep each other warm in those cold Pennsylvania nights. Because I'm telling you right now, I'm DK. If you're listening and watching, congratulations to you for going out and getting the contract that you want with Pittsburgh. But I'm telling you right now, it's colder in Pittsburgh than it is in Seattle, and it's uglier. It's a Midwest. I don't want to dismiss the Midwest.
I know, like,
we live in Seattle. How do you get better than this? But yeah, go ahead. I mean, for you and your career, I hope everything works out for you in Pittsburgh.
Yeah.
Out there with Russ, where we hope there was no, nothing happening there.
Yeah, don't get me started.
No meddling.
On Russell Wilson. Yeah. Okay, we got to get to Geno Smith, too, who got traded to the Raiders for a third-round pick. And 2 weeks ago, John Snyder actually said, Geno's our guy, and we're going to go forward with him. So what gives? And he's back with my man, Pete Carroll.
Yeah.
That's who I just have the biggest crush
Yeah, you got to
on.
love Pete Carroll. But I got to tell you, this is something I've learned over the years in watching football, whether it's professional football, whether it's collegiate football. Never trust or believe what a coach says on TV. They gonna lie to you, man. They go, oh, that's my guy. I love him so much. And I've seen it 1,000 times where they'd be like, oh, yeah, this is the direction we're going one day. And then the next day, that coach isn't even coaching that team anymore. So,
Swerve.
Just a complete swerve and curve.
Yeah.
So, I mean, you have to say that this is your guy up until the second he's not your guy, right?
Fair enough.
He's your quarterback. He's the franchise guy, and until he's not, you have to tote that line. From what I understand is that Geno really wanted to be out of Seattle as well, and I don't know why. I know. On one hand, he had a great career here post Russell Wilson.
He did,
but I think he did not get the love that he thought he should receive from the fan base, because people were always, oh, Geno this, and he's making so many mistakes, and people just really didn't appreciate what we had in Geno Smith, I don't think, fully. So I think, from what my understanding is, the Seahawks offered him like $40 to $45 million per year, and he didn't even answer the phone. New number, who's this? I'm sorry, and so he wanted to be out.
Do you think we'd be having this conversation if Pete Carroll wasn't there too? Do you because he was disgruntled? Maybe?
I don't think so. I think because Pete Carroll is familiar with Geno, and he knows the talent that Geno has. He's familiar with him. That he was able to say, okay, well, we can work with you and give you what you want. Yeah. Whereas maybe as some other teams around the country might have been like, we're not completely sold on you yet.
And who are you eyeing to take Geno Smith? We have backup quarterback Sam Howell. Is he our guy?
Not the guy. You can just cut that conversation right there. I know no disrespect, but we saw Sam last season in real live play, and I don't think he's the guy.
Okay. Do you have your eye on anyone then for us?
See, the rumor mill is circulating right now around the NFL. I've even heard people say Aaron Rodgers coming to Seattle.
Oh, I heard
That's
that
another
too.
one we don't want.
I know. I'm going to go ahead and say no.
I'm going to go ahead and say no. I don't know if there's a kid in the draft right now that Seahawks will be able to get, but I have heard Sam Darnold from the Minnesota Vikings in Seattle. And I think that's going to be a kind of a lateral move for the Seahawks. I think he and Geno are very similar in their productivity. He was able to take Minnesota last year to the playoffs and have a Pro Bowl season. So we could get a Sam Darnold in here.
Okay, one more thing that I want to talk about, because again, I have to go back to my love, Tyler Lockett. What did you think about DK's requests on a day that was supposed to be kind of thanking Tyler Lockett and, obviously releasing him?
Are you trying to say DK wanted to step in?
I don't know what I'm saying.
He wanted to steal a little bit of that shine?
I'm just asking.
No, I mean, maybe it is. Maybe there was a little bit to say, look, all good for you, Tyler, but I got business to take care of too. And everybody around here knows DK is kind of like, he wants to be front and center. And so maybe that had a little something to do with it.
And I know they're best friends, so I don't, want to,
You trying to start a little riff?
I'm not trying to start
anything. This is a New Day riff. We start right here.
I'm not starting anything. We're just going to sip, and we're going to have a great day. Thank you so much for being here, Terry.